welcome to 33 Founders. We're incredibly excited to be here today with Aaron Firestein, the chief artist of BucketFeet. So welcome.
Hey guys.
Aaron, we typically start out by describing the startups that we're speaking with, but I'm so enamored with your story building BucketFeet that I want to go back to Argentina when you sold your first pair of shoes to Raja. Can you take us back there?
So back in 2008, I bought a one-way ticket to Buenos Aires with the desire to, just sort of immerse myself in Latin American culture and learn Spanish. And, one-way ticket, no language skills, no contacts down there or anything. And, when I got down there, I quickly realized that I needed to do something to occupy my time. So I decided to volunteer with a group that worked with kids in the what they call Vishas, which are like the slums on the sort of periphery of the city, and working with kids, art classes, math classes, playing soccer and stuff like that. And the first day that I happened to do that also happened to be the first day that Raja, who was ex-finance guy, decided to quit his job and travel around the world, was also volunteering with. And so we played soccer with some kids, and it was a really cool group of people that had decided to volunteer sort of from all over the world. And hit it off with Raja, and I think we went out and grabbed some beers later, and I told him about this sort of side project that I had of customizing shoes, and he sort of explained to me that I'm on this this adventure around the world, and it'd be really cool to bring some shoes along for the ride. And so before he left, we were both in Argentina at the same time for about a month, I believe. So a month after our meeting, we finally, I was able to complete the shoes, and I gave them to him, before he went on his trip. And it was just like a really cool, a cool way to sort of connect. And he ended up wearing those, those shoes around the world for over a year. And sort of everywhere he went, he got, questions and comments about them. It was sort of a serendipitous meeting, looking back on it. But it all started with meeting in a far off place and connecting over art.
And then fast forward even just 3 years from there, and you're already a global brand.
Yeah. So we launched. We met in 2008, but we didn't launch until 2011. And that was the thing about it. It wasn't an idea that was cooked up in a lab. It was sort of it came about organically. And to really touch on the globalness of it, I was still living in South America when he approached me about starting the brand. He had finished his trip at this point and was in Abu Dhabi, and working again in finance, and everything was done across the world through the internet to start. And now we've got a network of 8,000 artists, over 8,000 artists, close to like 8,200 artists in our network right now. We recently did a count there. People have submitted work from over 85 countries, which is really telling of this idea that art is universal and something that everybody can understand and wants to participate in. And we're sold in 30 countries as well, which is really cool. So it's been a crazy ride, but people seem to really enjoy what we're doing, and we've got a ton more artists to sort of to find, hopefully.
Yeah, and I know that during kind of those first initial 3 years, Raja was saying that focus is one of the most important things, and if you have more than 3 priorities, you have too many. So what were kind of the 3 most important things for you guys to focus on at that period?
Yeah, I mean, we still very much keep that idea.
You're not all over the place now?
No, I mean, that's one of the things that you learn early on is, you have to learn how to say no. And at the beginning, you're just so eager to just get the name out there and really do whatever you can to spread the word. And I wouldn't say that we necessarily even have really three priorities. I mean, our number one thing is staying authentic, really making sure that we protect the image of the brand and make sure that we are doing our best to really connect people through art. I think that that's really the number one thing, and making sure that everything we do comes back to that idea of being authentic and supporting artists in the right ways, and also making sure that when customers come into our studios or go on our website, that the story and everything is really what we're about, and that message is conveyed.
Going back to those early days a bit, I know you chose the name BucketFeet because that was your college nickname. And it's also a great name to remember because you're not going to forget it. What was the importance of choosing a name that would be memorable?
Yeah, that's really funny. We did toy with the idea of changing the name. And, a big reason that we didn't is that, between 2008 and when we launched the brand, I had been, still continuing to do this on the side as sort of a fun shoe customizing project. And I had built up a Facebook fan page, and, looking back on it, it was teeny tiny, but, it still had, 2,500 fans or something. And it was sort of like, well, look, we've already built this, we already have this URL, we have this page, there's 2,500 people already there. It might just confuse them if we change the name, and we didn't want to again cook up something in a lab and try to figure out how are we going to turn what was once just this project that I did on the side to something that is now Raja and mine, and then down the road adding a lot more people. And we just decided to stick with it, and I mean you said it perfectly. Whether or not people like it or don't, they always remember it. And I don't think we realized that at the time. We just sort of went with it, and people always remember it. And it's funny because we sell T-shirts that just say BucketFeet on them, and people are always they always catches their eye. They don't know why, but they always ask about them.
So right now you guys have a partnership with Nordstrom, Select Bloomingdale's, and like you said, you're selling BucketFeet shoes all around the country and all around the globe. Can you explain the process of getting the product to retail stores?
Yeah, so that's something that we really had to teach ourselves. To go back, for 2 years it was pretty much just Raja and myself, full-time employees. And Raja, with his background, he's very much, comes from the, the finance business world. So he really sort of steered the ship as CEO, on the financial side of things and big picture side of things. I took more ownership of the art, creative side of things, but then also, the sales side of things, because there's no way that one person could obviously do all of that. So I actually spent, I guess it was in 2012, I did a 3-week road trip where I just hit as many stores as possible. And that's really where it started, was just cold visits. I mean, sometimes with preemptive calls, but most of the time you just walk in with a bag of shoes, line sheets, and pitch your product. And in those 3 weeks, I think I hit like 85 stores, oh, wow. small independent boutiques between Chicago and New York City, and went to 11 cities or something. And so it's that was sort of like, okay, this actually is you can get results from that, just plain and simple, just touching as many retailers as possible. And so we've got people on the team where that's really their focus, is making phone calls constantly, going to stores constantly, all over the country, and just getting the product in front of people. That's really, it's a numbers game. The more stores you go to, the more stores are going to pick you up. Now that's how it works with independent boutiques, because there's a pretty good chance that you'll find either a buyer or a manager or the owner maybe who's actually in the store. When you're talking about something like Nordstrom's or Bloomingdale's, it's a much different challenge. Highly, tiered company with, lots of gatekeepers. And it's hard to know sort of who you need to talk to, who can actually make the decisions. And it's also something that without traction with other, on other sides of the retail front, it's very difficult to even, begin a conversation. But we had made some progress and, managed after a lot of, a lot of hustle and a lot of time to get in front of the buyers. And we sort of knew once we had secured a meeting that the ball was sort of in our court. It was a matter of, okay, we got their attention, their undivided attention for at least an hour. Let's show them what we got. And, that's really what it took to get them to make the order. Then once they've made the order, you've got a whole other animal with, managing the account and making sure that everything is going as smooth as possible, because these stores, they know they can sort of work with anybody. And so it's, as a new brand, you really need to, try to do your best to stand out from the crowd and make sure that, that it's worth their time and worth their money to have your product in the stores. And, so far it's gone extremely well.
So once you go ahead, Chase.
Oh, I was just wondering, how have your line sheets evolved over time? Or do you have any tricks for getting into boutiques?
Yeah, so, I mean, the first line sheets we ever did were real sort of manual, just done through, I don't even remember what program we used, in PowerPoint or something to put them together. But yeah, now, I mean, we have a team, we're like 16 full-time, I believe, right now. And we've got a couple of great people on our, creative team that really put together, beautiful looking catalogs that serve as line sheets as well, that aren't the typical things that you'd see at a trade show. I mean, they're printed on nice paper stock and have really great imagery and stories on sort of some of the key artists that we work with, and just make it look like something that you would actually want to flip through if you were a retailer. It just comes back to the overall just sort of branding of the store of the brand, and making sure that story is involved somewhere, whether that's the story of how Raj and I met, or the story of the artist and why they create the art that they create, and how that then got translated onto a shoe. And that's been a big help for sure, to have people that understand the creative side of things, that can make our ideas look pretty and like something someone would want to actually look at.
So it's best once you get into that meeting then to start with the story and then talk about the shoes.
Yeah, absolutely. You tell the story, and then I mean, we're at a point now where we've been around long enough that we do have some sort of sense of what shoes will do well in what types of stores, and what shoes have just done well in general. Maybe just through our website, we know, okay, this one we can't keep it. And with stores, with big box guys like Nordstrom or Bloomingdale's, you want to make sure that you give them the best possible chance of your product selling through. And so we sort of let them pick what they might want to sell, but then we'll also coach them a little bit and say, hey, I noticed you didn't select this one. This one is it's doing amazingly. In these cities, you might want to consider it.
In addition to that, you guys also host a ton of pop-up shops and events, but I've heard in another interview that even just that 3-month period in a New York pop-up shop is incredibly pricey. So how do you get the most out of that test period?
Yeah, I mean, New York is obviously one of the priciest places in the world, and we're also located in one of the priciest neighborhoods in New York, and really hanging out amongst some heavy hitters, which is really exciting for us, and something that I think if you'd asked us 2 years ago, do you think you'd have a space in Soho, New York? I don't know if we would believe it, but it's really important, especially when it's a sort of a short-term project. I mean, you really have to make sure it looks amazing, which we've done a really good job with. Again, our creative team has put a ton of effort into just making the space very, very cool looking and welcoming, and the sort of place that I put it as, even if you don't buy anything, we want you to leave having enjoyed your experience. Whether it's looking at the art in the pop-up gallery we have in the back, or drawing on our interactive art wall, at the front of the studio, or just trying shoes on, looking at them, talking to the staff. Just making sure that it's yes, you obviously you want to make money, you want to at least break even, or hopefully make a little bit of money, but it is a marketing expense when it's a short term thing, especially in a place like this neighborhood. The type of people that you get coming in here are people who do love art. They know art. There are tourists from all over the world. We're able to, obviously with the international aspect of the brand, we're able to connect with people on many different levels based on, where the artist is from that did the shoe, or maybe someone came in and they just visited a city that, they also saw us in, or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of ways to interact with people, and then just having in-person events. We have a rotating monthly artist in residence program where for a whole month an artist gets to sort of take over the back part of the studio, and throw events for them where they get to invite all of their friends, and really bringing in those artists who get to take over the space, and having them open it up to their network is great. It brings in a ton of new eyeballs and new people. But yeah, just keeping things fresh. I mean, I think if it's a short term thing, it's really important to convey the message to people that, hey, this isn't going to be around forever. You need to check it out now. It's going to be evolving and changing a lot in a really fast way all the time. And just make it feel really exciting and sort of like an experience when you come in here. We don't want it to just be a store, right? We want it to be something that people remember and really have a great time visiting.
I want to shift gears and talk about the business side of things at BucketFeet. I know Raja and you play very different roles in the company. How do you get the most out of your co-founder relationship?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting as you grow, you realize that you're not going to be working one-on-one on a lot of things anymore. Especially, like you said, we work in very different different aspects of the business. But we both have our eyes on the prize, and both see the big picture and want to make the most out of this experience. And I think it really comes down to just being super open and transparent with one another as it pertains to sort of how we want the overall feel of the company to be, the culture of the company. But I think the two of us, it works really well because the two of us, are very cognizant of the fact that we do different things, and we sort of respect each other's opinions on the sort of things that we can, sort of call authority on. And yeah, I don't know, it's totally different from when we lived together, worked together, had our boxes in a storage area in the attic of our house. And it was just two of us for 2 years. I think obviously there's times when you sort of start to butt heads and things like that. It's natural. That's a lot of time to spend with another person. But we're both very easygoing guys and very patient and good at communicating with one another and with the rest of the team. And really, I think we trust each other, which is important. I think we trust most people on the team wholeheartedly, and that's really one of the biggest things. And I think we learn a lot from one another as well. I personally I like it when seeing the reaction when Raja will do an interview or give a talk or whatever, and I think it goes the other way as well. It's fun to sort of see how far this is come, and and it's just important to sort of every once in a while take a step back and be like, you know, look at you know, we've got a ton more to accomplish, but look at, you know, where we're at now and how that started. You know, I think he'll probably say that I'm, you know, the more sort of easygoing, you know, relaxed guy on the team compared to him, and that's probably true, largely because our roles are so different. I mean, I deal with a lot of artists, and that can be very stressful sometimes. But you know, he is the one that is, you know, heading up fundraising and you know, keeping our investors happy and things like that, which is obviously a high stress job.
Yeah. So from a slum to Soho, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, we got a long way to go yet. You know, I mean, we've it's the tip of the iceberg, I think, and we've got a lot to accomplish. But I think it's important to sort of every once in a while step back and say, wow, you know, we have done a lot of cool stuff, and it can be hard to do that because you're so laser focused, you know, on the future.
Yeah, so I want you to go back into the days of bootstrapping, and what would your advice be to another fashionpreneur who's bootstrapping right now?
I like it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's really important. Things that I wish we had done, I guess. You know, going back, you know, we tried to do everything online from the beginning. And when you're talking about an actual product, a physical product that people need to hold or try on or whatever, it's just get in front of as many people with that product as early on, whether that's through you know, trunk shows, which we did a lot of, you know, in people's apartments or at, you know, bars or wherever we could just be in a physical place and show people. But trade shows and places where, you know, there are a lot of other brands and buyers and things. I mean, it took us a while to get to our first trade show, and, you know, we've had to play a bit of catch up because of that. And, you know, we're in an okay space now. But I think, yeah, just doing everything you can to get people to see your product in person and give them a reason to talk about it. And I would also say, you know, sort of until you've got that something physical, sort of just, you know, make sure you do, even if you don't have the product out yet, you know, go to trunk shows, go to trade shows, go see how people sort of operate. You know, we went into a trade show, our first trade show, we'd never even been to one, and we walk in, we had no idea what to expect. You know, and maybe if we had gone as a visitor before, we would have approached that first one in a better way.
I know one of the parts of bootstrapping too was it was just you and Raja for a while. Like you said, for the first 2 years, you guys were in the house with the shoes upstairs. Now you guys are looking to expand your team. What do you look for in hires? Because I saw an interview with Raja where he said your first startup hire can make or break the company.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think it depends totally on the position that you're trying to fill, obviously. But, you know, it's just super important, I think, and there's another thing that I think Raj and I are really good about is really recognizing what it is that we're not good at, and knowing what that is, knowing where that hole is, and going out and trying to fill that hole, and not being afraid to say, you know what, I suck at sales. Like, I'm not good at sales. We need to go find salespeople. I know how to manage them. Or, you know, marketing, like I'm doing everything, I'm just winging it. Like, we need to find someone who is an expert in that and tell them what, you know, what the goals are that we want to achieve, and let them do it. You know, it's really difficult. And to be perfectly frank, I mean, Raja has done, you know, has led most of the hiring process. I will always sort of, you know, meet the people and give my take on sort of, you know, do I think this person will fit well within the culture of the company? Is this someone that you know, people will get along with? Because that's extremely important, especially when you're a small company. You know, you're on a ship, sort of, you know, metaphorically, and everybody's got to, they don't have to be best friends, but everybody's got to sort of get along and respect one another. But I think, yeah, it really comes down to, you know, having that first, and especially with the first hire, you know, what is that one big thing that we neither one of us A, have time for, or B, are just not that good at, that will make or break the company, and go out and find them. And it's a really, I mean, it's a time-consuming, very difficult process. It's hard to know where to look, and personal referrals are obviously one of the best ways to do that. Maybe with asking investors or advisors, or people like that. But yeah, it's finding those gaps and doing your best to try to fill them.
So
How about letting go of a role though when it's your strength?
Yeah, that's something that personally has been something that I've dealt with. I mean, my role really now, as chief artist, what it once was really communicating with the artists, actively seeking them out, working with them on the designs, helping put together the mock-ups of the shoes that would then become products. And it was something that I think I have a good eye for, but it's by no means an expertise. And we hired a great designer, a product designer, and that was something that I pretty much fully have let go of. He will still come to me and say, hey, what do you think of these mock-ups? Do you think colors? Do you think the placement of this print is good or whatever? But at the end of the day, it's sort of his call. And at first it was sort of strange, because I did enjoy it. I mean, this is like, I used to design shoes. I want to be part of the design process. But yeah, I mean, I still am to a certain extent, like I said, but the guy is very deserving of the job and is good, and we have good communication, and he's someone that it's because of what we've seen him produce and how he works. It's much easier to say, go for it. I trust you. This is going to be awesome. It'd be a different story if it's like, oh no, it's butchering everything and like there's nothing I can do about it. So I haven't had that sort of experience yet. But it's weird to sort of say, okay, I'm hands off and I'm going to focus on other stuff.
Absolutely. So, Aaron, I failed 6th grade art. So I've always been super fascinated by artists. How do you get into your creative process, into a state of flow?
So what's really funny is I don't get to create art as much as I would like to, and it's something that you would think I would be creating art all the time, given my title and given the type of company we're in. But because of that, it for me it really is sort of a release. So if there's a long day or whatever, and I get home and throw on some music and just sort of zone out for a bit, and my style is very much has sort of like an abstract feel to it. So it's usually, I have no idea what the end result is going to look like. It just sort of goes. But I've sort of made a conscious effort to make sure that I don't lose my chops, quote unquote. I can't go a month and realize, I haven't sat down for a couple hours and drawn in my sketchbook. So I've made a really, and this is sort of a recent thing, probably in the last like 6 months or so, that made a very conscious effort to draw several times a week, and just and not all of it is good. A lot of it's not good, but it's just it's important to sort of remember that, okay, I need some time sort of for myself, and creating art is usually something that I really, really enjoy. There's no secret to it. I think it is one of those things, though, that, I mean, flow is a great word, because it is something where time usually sort of disappears, and I'll realize, I've been doing this for like 3 hours. I had no idea. And that's when that you're doing something you're passionate about and that you really enjoy. So I hope to continue that trend and keep it going for the future.
Absolutely. And I know right now you guys are really focused on just doing shoes for BucketFeet. But in the future, once you're starting...
You got socks too.
We do have socks, yeah.
Once you start seeing your shoes on tons of different people when you're walking down the street. Do you think you'll consider going into other verticals?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely are going to likely make other products. I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, we have a huge database of art. We've got a huge network of artists now. There's tons of different things that we can put that content on. Shoes are one thing that we will likely never lose focus on, just because it's an extremely sort of premium product that not a lot of people know how to make. I mean, it's sort of one of the biggest pitches to artists. You meet them at an art opening, some big time artists, and you pitch the brand, and it's almost always, hey, this is a shoe you get to design. Not a lot of people
get to do that.
Know where you got athletes, and you have people that's the holy grail, right, of product collaborations, and we're making that accessible to the types of people that probably never thought they'd ever have a shoe, and so I don't think it'll ever change. I mean, in the short term, the main thing is different sort of styles of shoes. So moving into things that are maybe a little bit more weather resistant, or things that are a little bit more feminine, or just having a wider range of silhouettes and ways and products for people to choose from, but also a lot of different platforms for artists to play around with. Giving them different templates to mess around with is always a big attraction to the artists, getting to design mid-tops, which we just released, things like that. So socks, that's another thing. The saying is sort of keeping it around the ankles for the time being. We also sell art prints on our website, which is really cool, because from design to product for a shoe, it takes a very, very long time. Something like prints, it's a way to get artists an actual revenue source through BucketFeet.com, and it's also a way that their product can be online, within a couple weeks. And we were able to print them on demand in the United States. It sort of is a quick strike artist product that we can offer.
All right. So now, how can artists get involved, and how can just people find your shoes and buy them?
Yeah, so if you're an artist, all you have to do is go to BucketFeet.com. There's a tab that says Artists, and then below that it says Become an Artist. All you have to do is put your name and email address to register, and then you can go in and download all the various templates that we offer, and begin submitting work. We look at designs every few months for shoes, and much more frequently for art prints that we sell on the site. But yeah, I mean, literally anybody can do it. You don't need to be a skilled graphic designer either. You can be someone that creates watercolors or does ink drawings or whatever. We want to make sure this really is for everyone. And the tagline is artists for everybody. So there's a lot of sites out there that say, hey, you need to submit this work in this very specific format, or you're sort of disqualified. We're trying to be the sort of the opposite of that. And then as far as getting our shoes, obviously our website, BucketFeet.com. If you go to the website, you can see a list of all of the retailers that we're in, and there's too many to mention here, but obviously Nordstrom.com, Bloomingdale's soon. And then we have our studios, one in Chicago, downtown Chicago, and one in Soho. You can also find information about those through our social media handles at BucketFeet on everything.
Perfect. Thank
Awesome.
you so much for joining us, Aaron.
Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate the questions, and looking forward to seeing what's next.
To be continued.